There he is.
Hey, dude.
How you doing?
Good. Are we gonna be sideways like this? Are we sideways?
Yes, we're good. We're exactly where it should be.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so this is RoseNthorn Talk, episode 3. My name is Aaron Marshall Clark, AMC, and my special guest today is extraordinarily talented actor, comedian, professional MC, Eric Johnston. What's up, man?
Hey, dude. This is fun, huh?
Right?
I
So a
just
little
got up to
background
my
on
office. I hope I have my phone resting, what's the word? Precariously on an old selfie stick that I stole from an ex-girlfriend. It's hot pink. And we'll see what happens. I hope
right?
it doesn't fall.
Oh, we should be good. A little background story on Eric and I went with a friend of mine and we saw Eric at Johnny G's in here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Had to be March of last year, and we stayed in contact. Hilarious, and we'll find out why he's so hilarious through the next hour.
That's very nice
So,
of you. I created a fan and a friend.
right? Exactly. Well said, my man. All right. So, what was your inspiration? We're going to start right with that, with comedy.
Just period.
Why
Just
comedy?
go into it.
Yeah.
I'm inspired by a lot of things. I think if anyone knows kind of me and follows me on Instagram, and if you don't, you will. I have a lot of inspirations. One of them is the fact that I come from a family lineage of entertainers. Both my father and grandfather were professional wrestlers and entertainers and actors as well. And actually, I'm wearing a shirt today from a whole story that's available to view on my Instagram from a movie that my dad shot in 1978 called Blood and Guts. And this is the original Crew t-shirt. And today I found in an old warehouse the original Crew press promo kit, and I found a massive poster in a
Excellent.
warehouse covered in dust. So I'm flying high today on my inspirations from my father.
As you should.
Also, I think just funny, just comedy, I grew up in a funny house. Everyone in my family is funny. I just love comedy. I love making people laugh. And I said recently in an interview, I'm just addicted to the sound of laughter. That's really all it is. And that's all it comes down to for me.
That's amazing. Now, with growing up in Stony Creek, Ontario, I myself from Yorkton, Saskatchewan, small farm town. Stony
Yep.
Creek, couple, about 60,000 people there. So what was that like? What was that like growing up in a smaller environment like that, looking for opportunities for your calling, which is comedy and entertainment,
Yeah.
and not being distracted by the bigger cities around and just starting from grassroots?
I think, first of all, my neighborhood is hilarious. I grew up in a very funny place.
Right.
Everyone I know is funny. I don't know any non-funny people. It's rare for me to know, especially guys I grew up with. Everyone in my high school, hilarious. Everyone I grew up with in elementary school, hilarious. And I think the reason is my neighborhood in Stony Creek here it's an immigrant neighborhood. Just
Okay.
like how there's areas of Saskatchewan and Manitoba that are like Polish settlements and German settlements and stuff like
Right.
that. In Stony Creek, we landed with a lot of Italians and Croatians.
All right.
And Croatians, Yugoslavians in general. And those people, especially the Yugoslavians, came from a worn-torn place, especially with the Yugoslavian war in the early 90s. So when they came to Canada, everything was just happy and funny. And everyone had a story to tell. Everyone around me has something to say about their life, if not their life, their parents' life, or their grandparents' life, which leads to funny storytelling, which leads to my comedy style, where I am a storytelling comedian. That's what I do. I tell stories on stage. I'm a long-form joke teller. Now, when you get to my style of high energy, I just knew to be noticed in my neighborhood, because Italians and Europeans and stuff were so big and just like like those kinds of guys. to get
Yeah.
a word in, you just had to be that much more energetic and that much louder than everybody else. So I just created this style of storytelling where I'm like, guys, you gotta listen. So I'm here and I'm like using my arms and my legs and my shoulders and my rib cage. And that developed the style of comedian that I am. So I always feel like Hamilton and Stony Creek especially, but and Hamilton is kind of like the New Jersey to the Manhattan, and Manhattan is Toronto. We're on this
Gotcha.
outside of this big, massive city that's our Canadian major population place. And then New York, obviously, they have Manhattan and Jersey. I feel like we're removed enough just to shit on the city people, just enough, but also kind of want to be like them. And just like, you know what I mean? The comedy is based on the outsider. The outsider is the person who comments on everything going around because you're not inside the bullshit. So when I'm there, because I wasn't there, I wasn't in this big city of Toronto growing up. I was in this rough steel town, Hamilton place. It just made you kind of like a ball buster, and everyone kind of rips on each other. Like my friends and I, when we call each other on the phone, it's not like, "Hey, friend, how are you?" It's like, "What up, loser? What are you doing today?" It's like that's just the way we all talk, and it just created this kind of, I don't know, funny small town but yet big city feel comedy feeling.
Would you say, or would it come across as observational comedy as well, just based on everyone's personalities blended?
Yeah, I'd say observational. I'm not like, what's the deal with airplane food? That's observational in that way. I observe the world around me. That's my job. And my world around me is based on my friends and family and people around me. So I'm observing them, and I'm observing life, and I'm observing life happen for, people. So yeah, observational. And it's crazy. The way that my career has come mostly with observational is I'll tell a story about my life, my family, my mom, my parents, my upbringing, my relationships. And I'm really just commenting on my own life, but then it's funny to me, or it's beautiful to me actually to see how many people connect with that and go, "Oh, my mom's the same way," or "Oh, I dated a girl just like that." So it's like I'm observing on my life, but I'm observing on theirs, which is special to me.
Oh, absolutely. What was your first experience like on stage? Likes, dislikes, a couple of each.
Okay, yeah, well, you're very straight to it. I was lucky. I got on stage the first time on November 1st, 2010 at a place called the Kingston Hotel in downtown Vancouver, British Columbia. I signed up for an open mic, and I told my how I started comedy. I've done on so many shows and stuff. I'll spare you the details. Basically, what happened is I lied. I lied to the promoter and said, "I'm already a comedian. I'm from Toronto. I just moved to Vancouver. I'm already a comedian," which was a lie. But I knew it just came out of my mouth. I just wanted to get on stage. This is my inspiration. I need to get on that stage. So my first gig ever, November 1st, 2010, I was more comfortable than others because I had been doing musical theater and theater since I was 6 years old. So I wasn't afraid of the stage. I wasn't afraid to go up there. I wasn't afraid to be up there. And most importantly, I wasn't afraid of all the eyeballs on me. That's what I thrive off of. And I've been like that since I was 6. I did something ridiculous. In 4 years, I did 20 major production plays. I danced competitively for 7 years and competed across Ontario and upstate New York. So the idea of the eyeballs on me was exciting to me. I wasn't nervous. So really my first time on stage was just getting comfortable with this new format. I'm just going to stand up here and tell jokes. I'm going to develop a style. I'm going to develop the way that I speak. And this took years. When you first get on stage, you're really just doing impressions of comedians that you admire. You're really, and at the time, it's 2010, so Dane Cook was kind of just on his way out, and I was kind of doing a Dane Cook impersonation, and and also there was actually a very popular comic in Vancouver at the time. He's still very popular. He's a very good friend of mine now. His name is Simon King, and Simon King's a kind of very fast-talking, ranty, almost like a Lewis Black style comedian.
Okay.
So he would go up and rant, and then come to a point and get in a big applause break. So I admired him and I admired Dane Cook, and I kind of put those two together and did the Eric Johnston version of those two people. It wasn't real. It wasn't genuine. It wasn't my voice. It was just what I thought comedy sounded like. So I
And it
guess
was a
that's a
story.
con. It's a, you know, I didn't really know who I was.
Mhm.
But the pros was I was comfortable, and the pro was the second that I walked off stage and I said, thank you, good night. The second I walked off stage, I said, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. That's it right there. I found it. And I found it on November 1st, 2010. So I was lucky. I was 20 years old.
What a story. Wow, thanks for sharing that. Now, John Candy, we've talked about that before, about John Candy. We've had our conversations. And I had a chance to meet him and Wayne Gretzky at the 91 Grey Cup here in Winnipeg. Now, how has John Candy inspired you?
That is, first of all, I'm very jealous of you to meet my comedy hero. John Candy, for me, first of all, I kind of look like John Candy. I have not just
You can see it, yeah.
My father, if you look at old pictures of my father, especially when he was heavier, when he was off the roids, he looked like John Candy, big round face and kind eyes. And I think my inspiration with John Candy is not only that he was one of the funniest people to ever have walked the earth, and I honestly believe that. My guys are Candy, Carey, Williams, and I just put this up the other day. Carey, Candy, Williams, and Farley. Those are my four. Candy, Carey, Williams, Farley. Those are my guys. And Carey, Candy are Canadian. So those, especially the fact, and even Mike Myers to a degree, there's just something to be said about this area of Ontario in which I grew up in Hamilton. You know, in Hamilton alone, you've got Martin Short and Eugene Levy. But within a half-hour drive of me, you've got Jim Carrey. Within a 45-minute drive from me, you've got John Candy. You've got the entire cast of Second City from around this area. You've got Mike Myers from 45-minute drive from where I am. There's something in the water here, and I think it's because we're so close to the United States. We're, again, that observer of the world. We're the observer of the United States, that there's something about this area of Southern Ontario. It just breeds funny people, I believe. Now, the thing I most find inspiring about John Candy is his kindness. Now, I am a Canadian comedian, so I'm obviously kind to a degree already. But there's something about even when John Candy was playing the most deplorable characters or the most goofy or even obnoxious characters, when you looked into his eyes, you saw his kindness. And that, for me, is kind of what I want to portray in my world. As much as I'm a big, look at me and my suntan and my arms and my body butter and look at my fresh haircuts. And as much as I play into that character, which I've developed a caricature of a caricature over the last years of my career, at the end of the day, if you look me in the eyes, you know that I have a story. And you don't, to be honest, you know that there's pain back there. And you know that there's trauma back there. And you know that there's a willingness to not only succeed, but to make people happy. And that's how I felt when I would look into the eyes of John Candy in any movie. And you could see in any documentary about him or anything, they go, his kind eyes were so telling of him. And that's why I love John Candy. Not only is he a funny fat guy, not only is he a goofball, not only is he all those great Canadian comedy things, he was an angel. He was a teddy bear. And that's the person that I want to give to the world. So that's why I'm so overwhelmingly inspired by John Candy.
Absolutely, and that's comforting to hear. Both on Unknown and John Candy, I followed him. That was my upbringing as well. It was when his movies were out in SCTV and Uncle Buck and you name it. And you can see he is a caring soul. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Also, the CFL thing is big for me. He was a part owner in the Argos. I someday want to be a part owner of the Ticats. You know, even if it's just a name, just for publicity. I'm a big CFL guy, so I've been traumatized by the recent announcements. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. The CFL thing is just a funny thing. But yeah, really what it is the kindness that he portrays. I want John Candy not only made people laugh, but John Candy made people comfortable. And that's what I want to portray in this world. I want to make people feel at ease and laugh when they see me. And that's really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, my biggest inspiration.
Absolutely.
I've been doing something, this is my poker tell. Whenever I'm done a question, I reach for my drink.
And I see that in your comedy. I truly do. And that's why you're amazing at what you do as well. Well, you're welcome. The call that you received from the world famous Comedy Store in Los Angeles that you performed at twice. What was that like when you got that call?
I kind of forced that call, to be honest. I told this story last night or 2 nights ago on my podcast, where I was talking about how did you get to perform at the Comedy Store. Well, I was in Nashville having drinks with Russell Peters. Long story short, he said, when are you coming to LA? And I looked at him after a couple beers and said, when you have me open for you, you asshole. And he kind of paused and took a drink of his drink and looked at me and said, okay, end of June, you can fly down and you can open for me. And that right there was enough. That's a career and life-defining moment just because I took a chance. And that, again, goes back to what I truly believe in, and almost the Jim Carrey method of manifestation, where it's like, if you believe that you can, and if you ask that you can, you will. It's that simple. It's really that simple. And so many people have been shoveled self-doubt, and they've been shoveled their parents' voices in their head. You got to be reliable. You got to be smart. You got to be this. You got to get a real job. And listen, I think the world goes round by people who, terrible to say, don't take the chance. But there's also a lot of beauty in people who take a chance. And when you take that chance, it'll pay off. I promise. That's my promise to the world, is if you take a chance, it will pay off.
Now, was it any different performing on stage there than Stony Creek or here, Winnipeg, or wherever?
Actually, hold on, before we even go on, I just want to mention that big Ange comic, Angelo Sarucas, he's just joined the live stream for a sec. He just gave me a thumbs up. He runs the show that I performed on at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. He runs the Canada Day show. So this is almost, the world has come together perfectly. We were just talking about it, and Ange signs on. So Angelo, I see you. I love you. You've changed my life for the better. Thank you so much. But yeah, it just happened and then Ange and I know each other, and I did well enough that he said, okay, we'll come back next year. And I did it the next year. And I was actually slotted to perform on this year's Canada Day show at the Comedy Store, but obviously that's not happening because of COVID, and the Comedy Store won't be opening up again until September. But the world comes together, and it happens for you. And I just continue to work hard and show up and shake hands and meet people. I had met Angelo months before. We did a show together in Burlington, and he was impressed by me and not only my comedy, but my hustle. So when Russell said, hey, Eric's going to be on the show, Ange went, oh, yeah, that's great. I know Eric. Eric's great. And then it was just that simple. Yeah. So, it's preparation, it's hard work, and it's sometimes it's really just being in the right place at the right time because you put yourself there. You made yourself be there. So that's what it is for me. Right.
Now, with acting, you've been an entertainer since age of 6, as you'd mentioned. Now, what can we look forward to with acting? Is that going to be?
I don't. Here's the thing. I was before my stand-up career kind of took off, for lack of a better phrase, I was more focused on acting. I was becoming this. I had starred in this international TV show called Splat-A-Lot on YTV and CBBC Kids and ABC3 in Australia. The show got picked up in 170 countries in the world. So that was my life for a bit. I was a children's television star. It didn't go like most Canadian productions. It has its run and then that's it. But I was showing up and whatever. Now I still audition. I mean, I was auditioning before COVID, but I'm saying I'm still showing up for auditions and stuff like that. I do the odd bit part in a TV show and whatever. But a lot of it, to be honest, what's happening now is people will reach out and say, "Hey, I saw you live here," or "Hey, I saw that video of you dancing on your Instagram here, and I saw
Yeah.
this, that. I'm filming this thing. I'd love to have you on it." So I'm getting to the point now where a lot of the roles I'm getting, I'm not auditioning for. Like that big Circle K campaign I did where I'm in the Speedo and I'm dancing on the
Right.
beach. That was just the casting director just reach out to me and go, "Oh my God, this thing just came across my desk. You're perfect for it. We're casting you." And I went, "Okay." And I showed up. We shot the commercial and it aired all over Ontario. So,
It's based on your reliability as well, right? It's based on your reliability,
yeah,
and
I think people know if I show up, I'm gonna bring it, and I think that's what needs to be done, needs to be said, and needs to be recognized. Is I'm just gonna do my best wherever I am, whether it's with acting or comedy or relationships or friendships, whatever it is. You're gonna get all of me when you book me or you hire me or you ask for me or you show up and you reach out your hand to me. You're gonna get me. I don't have time for bullshit. I don't care to be fake. I need to just, when I do something, to just be 100% me. So that's me, and they get that. So acting, I don't know what's gonna happen. I think what's gonna happen is, like a lot of comics, the bigger they get, the more TV shows they're offered and opportunities they're offered. A lot of
yes,
those guys, sometimes go, "Oh, I've never acted before." I'm going to be at the benefit where I say, "Well, I've also actually been an actor since I was 6 years old. So what's the lines? What's the script? Where are we going? Where are we shooting?" I can kind
there's
of jump.
enthusiasm.
Yeah, I can jump into that right away. So, and I'm not scared. The biggest thing that I'm coming into terms with being an actor is I'm a big character actor. Everything I do is big, and you can see that in my live stage show. The way that comedy and stuff is being written these days with shows like The Office and Community and Parks and Rec and New Girl and stuff like that. All the comedy is very subtle. Sometimes it's just a look, and sometimes it's just a,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't expect that." Or it's almost like everyone's Chandler. That's how it is now. Everything is written where everyone is sarcastic. Everyone is the sarcastic, subtle guy. Where I'm like the big, flamboyant, almost borderline obnoxious guy. So there's only so many roles for me, but I can also adapt and change. But the biggest thing I've learned as an actor is just like what I thought I was going to do, cut that in half, maybe even half of that. Cut that in a fourth or a third, whatever it is. Cut it down, bring it down, slow it down. And you're not performing to 500 people. You're performing to a lens right in front of you. So that's the biggest thing I've learned recently as an actor is just bring it down, Eric. Bring it down.
So love for our parents is incomparable. They create the greatest memories as well. So Bullwhip, Danny Johnston, your father, pro wrestler. You and I are both pro wrestling fans. Grew up on it. Still have interest in it. Now, here's a question for you in regards to your dad. With life, what is one of the most important elements that just resonates with you that he taught you? And tell us a little bit about your dad.
Okay. I can actually, if I move my head here, that's my father right there. That's Bullwhip Danny Johnston, Canadian Wrestling Hall of Fame professional wrestler. As was my grandfather, professional wrestler. So that's, that was his life and whatever. Unfortunately, my dad died 9 days after my 13th birthday. So obviously that affected me. Now, I had two options as a young man, especially the man that I'm coming into now at 29 years old. Do I let this affect me where it becomes a negative? Where I blame the world for my problems? Do I blame, "Oh, I got a dead dad, so I can do whatever I want. People will give me a get-out-of-jail-free card because I went through so much trauma as a child." Or do I turn that trauma and turn it into something absolutely amazing and inspiring and inspirational? I chose the latter. And I'm happy to say that that's worked for me. I said recently I made a small mini documentary about my father and his passing called Chasing Footsteps. It's about my relationship with my father and him passing away and him being an entertainer and me chasing the footsteps of his life. I said in the documentary, when you lose a father at a young age, you spend the rest, or you lose a parent at a young age, rather, not just father, could be mother as well.
Right.
When you lose a parent at a young age, you spend the rest of your life seeking approval from someone that you're never going to get it from. Am I good enough? Is this good enough? Do you love me? Can you see me? You're asking for this from someone who doesn't exist in this world anymore. Now, again, that could be taken as a negative thing where people feel that they're not good enough, they're not seen, they're not heard, they're negative. I took it the positive way, and it turned me into an extremely hard worker.
Yeah.
It turned me into, I'm gonna chase his footsteps so hard, and I'm gonna stomp so hard chasing these footsteps that generations behind me will see how hard I stomped. I'm gonna make it not only for me, but for the places that he didn't get to. Because my dad was famous, but he wasn't Hulk Hogan. He wasn't Macho Man. He wasn't the biggest wrestler in the entire world. He was famous in Hamilton. He's famous in Canada. But to be honest, and I can be open and honest about that, where it's like, at this point, at 2020, only really hardcore wrestling fans who were fans in the 80s and early 90s know who my dad was. The rest of the time, they go, I've never heard of him. I heard he was great. I'm sure he was great, but I've never heard of him. So I've taken into my life to just do everything at the absolute highest frequency that I can. I work hard. I love hard. I sleep hard. I eat hard. Everything I do is extremely high frequency because I want to vibrate for not only me and my life and my goals and my inspiration, but for anyone who's watching, anyone who ever believed in me, anyone who said, I think that kid's going to do it. I do it for them as well, not just for my dead dad and not just for my living mom and my sister and my family. I do it for them, and they know that. They know that every day. But I do that for any person who ever saw me live. And almost like how we've come to do this interview today. You saw me live for 15 minutes in a basement in Winnipeg. But you saw, this guy's good. I want to get to know him. I want to be friends with him. He's inspirational. That's my life's purpose right there. This interview, how we got here today, that's what I do. I want to inspire people so that when they see me, they say, that guy is vibrating at a high frequency, and I want to be around that. I'm not saying I want to be around that so I'm famous. Fame to me is an illusion of grandeur that everyone wants or doesn't want. Yeah. This is what I want. You and I is what I want. Just like I did a show last night out of Montreal. Same thing, same situation. Guy was in Laval. I did a show in Laval. He was in the audience. Same situation. Followed me, became a friend of mine and a fan of mine, and said, hey, I'm starting this new show. Would you come on? And I said, absolutely. Just like you, absolutely. We're in this together. The more comics need to realize, and it's unfortunate that they don't, because comics especially live in this, I gotta make it. This is all about me. I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be the next Russell Peters. I'm gonna be the next Sebastian Maniscalco. I'm gonna be the next Bill Burr. I'm gonna be the next Dave Chappelle. It's very me. I live a little bit in that world because I have to, as per the job description. But also, I don't, because I truly believe that we are all in this together, both in the entertainment industry, as comedians, as musicians, as friends, as Canadians, as family members, as people of COVID. We're all in this together. And I think that as shitty as this COVID has become, and as the tens of thousands of dollars that I've lost, millions of dollars that companies have lost, businesses, relationships, all that shit has gone to hell. But it made us realize at most that we're all together. Take away the ability, all the stuff that was taken away from us, we're all experiencing the same thing and navigating the same thing. And this is why I believe that everything right now is so funny. Have you noticed how funny the internet is recently with memes and articles and whatever? Because at the end of the day, the jester will make everything okay. The ability to laugh makes it all okay. As much as millions of people are sick and losing their lives around the world, and I couldn't even fathom, and I pray for them. But at the end of the day, it made us realize, hey, we're all in this together. We're all the same. And at the end of the day, it's so important that we're all funny. And we are. And it's good. And it's life. And it's happy. And it's, I know you're an inspirational guy, so I'm in a very inspirational place right now. But, you know, COVID has changed all of us. And for me, I'm sitting in a podcast studio that I've built in the last month. You know, it's like, this is a world that I live in now because I was forced to be here. So.
And you made it work, as am I. And it is about togetherness. It's about understanding and seeing it from all angles. And truly, what is the meaning of life and what life is really to be about? And it's a huge wake-up call, absolutely. What was school like? Were you the comic relief in school? And how did teachers react to that?
It's funny you say that because it was either one or two things. They either loved me or they hated me.
Yeah.
You know, my mom used to go to student-teacher interviews in high school. Elementary school was kind of across the board. He's good, but he's a distraction. We like him. He's smart, but he doesn't apply himself. Now, and I believe that. And here's the thing. I believe, and this is not my own horror thing, I believe that I'm an intelligent man. I'm not only intelligent in just taking on geography and history. Math, not a chance. I could barely tell you what 2 + 2 is. But now all these other things about the world I'm able to absorb, because when I started to look at the world as a young age, everything is a story. History is a story. Geography is a story. How did that story to how they got to where they made the lines and the people moved and they got in their carts, so everything's a story. I started to absorb so much more because I saw it as a story. Math, I don't see as a story. Blah, 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 blah. You either know the formula or you don't. I'm more abstract in that way. But when it came down to school, in high school, my mom used to go to parent-teacher interviews. Now, I was a class clown, admittedly, but I don't care for the term class clown. I mean, I call myself it, but I think class clowns, at least in my school, were just the goofy kid, say whatever, disrupt the entire class. Just all of it is 90% of it's not funny, 10% of it is funny, and it's very childish. That's kind of what my class clown was. I said, and this will loop us back to our question before and how John Candy was such an inspiration of mine. I always said that I picked my spots. I knew when it was appropriate and I knew when it wasn't appropriate. And I knew when just to let the moment just hang for a sec and then say something like, you know, I don't know, in science class, it's orgasm instead of organism or whatever, you know, whatever I would say as a kid.
Yeah.
But I would find those moments to just plop, there it is. And then the whole room would just explode. And everything would be fun and happy and funny. And I was that kid. And the reason why I bring up John Candy is that one of my mentors in life is a man named Dave Powers. He was the first man to ever direct me in a play. And he was the first man other than my parents to ever believe in me. I think about him all the time. He's in his 80s now. And if it wasn't for COVID, I'd be having tea with him. He said to me, point blank, I was in grade 9. He looked at me and said, you have a future. You are extremely talented. You're an amazing storyteller. And if you do not pursue this, you are an idiot. The first person to ever speak that bluntly to me about the entertainment business. He believed in me in that sense. Now, I would, and he said to me, do you know who else I taught? Do you know who I taught? And I said, I don't. He said, you know, I used to work in Markham, where John Candy's from. And he said, I used to teach grade 7. You know who one of my students was? John Candy. And he said, and I see a lot of him in you. Because you know why? John Candy picked his spots. And he said that very directly to me, and it was so inspirational. Pick your spots. So when in high school, my mom used to go for student teacher interviews. The one teacher would be like, he's a disruption. He's never going to pass this class. He's literally bringing down the people around him. He's a waste of time, and I'm happy the days that he's not here. My mom would go, okay, thank you very much. He would literally walk out, go into the next class, and the next teacher, I'll never forget it, grade 10, Mr. O'Reilly. He walked in, my mom walked into the parent-teacher interview, and he goes, are you Eric Johnston's mom? And she goes, yeah, I'm Kathy. I'm Eric Johnston's mom. I got to tell you, your kid might be one of the most talented, most hilarious kids I've ever worked. I've been teaching for 35 years. I've never seen anybody like it. I look forward to the days that he's going to be here. If he skips my class, I'm upset. So I had the yin and the yang of how people appreciated me and how I learned to really pick my spots and be a comedian, really. And timing is everything.
Timing is everything. Now, with the evolution of comedy over the decades, we've all seen it. What has changed the most, do you feel, in stage presence, in delivery?
For me personally, or just in general?
Great, yeah, both. Yeah.
I think for me, my stage presence and confidence has just skyrocketed because I believe in what I'm saying up there. I believe in me. I say to young comics, being a comedian is like being an entrepreneur. It's like being on Shark Tank, but instead of creating a new mop, you're selling you. So how could you go through this entrepreneurial ship of performance and the business of show without believing in your product? And I have, not only with the things that I believe, but the things that I've done in terms of tours and shows and the Comedy Store and opening for Russell Peters and opening for Sebastian Maniscalco and opening for some major headlining touring comics. And also, not only that, from going from an opener to doing my own headlining tours, headlining across Canada by myself, which is where I met you in Winnipeg. That has led me to this place that every day I'm reminded that I am exactly where I should be. I'm exactly where I have to be. In terms of the world, I mean, every comic's got their style. Every comic's believes that they're the best and they should say whatever they want. I don't know. I don't know I don't know if it's changed at all. I think the way that comedy is consumed has changed with the birth of Netflix and Hulu and YouTube and Amazon Prime. But the reality is it's still storytelling. It's still truth. It's still all of that stuff. And if you don't adapt to that, if you don't adapt to this style, yeah, obviously guys have cleaned up. You know, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, racism and homophobia was more accepted on the comedy stage, where it's not as much anymore as it should be, because the world has changed. And you can see when you see a comic who was working in the 80s and they're trying to do shows now, it's like, ooh, you gotta adapt, buddy. That joke's not gonna fly anymore. So the world has changed. The world has become PC, but you know what? I believe the strong comics will survive that, and the strong comics will rise to that. And if they don't rise and adapt, it's over for you. I'm sorry. The comedy world will not wait for you to get your shit together. You go with the audience, you go with what people are finding funny, and you go with the world. I don't know what jokes I'm going to do about COVID after this is over and I get back on stage, but I'm sure I will do some, because I'm going to have to. Imagine I went up on stage and did an hour and didn't talk about the world's biggest pandemic in our lifetime. I have to. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know what jokes I'm going to tell, but I have to do it. So I will. I am aware of that. I'm not going to be delusional and be like, they don't want to hear about COVID because I'm such an artist that they need to hear what I need to say. No, they want to joke about the world. But then again, I come from the school of thought where comedy shows are where people go to forget about the world. Shows are where people, that's why I'm not a political comic. I don't do any politics on stage, because people don't go out to a nightclub to hear you talk about politics. Could be the hottest, funniest take in the world. They're there to forget. They're there to have a couple drinks and remember their childhood. And that's what I remember. That's my basic. That's why I do so many jokes about nostalgia and the 90s and old TV shows and stuff you did when you were in elementary school and high school, because that's my life. That's what makes me happy. And I know that makes other people happy. So, you know, I don't
We're
know
both
much
fans.
things.
Yeah, well said. We're both fans of The Sopranos, and we
Yeah.
talked a little while ago about Pine Barrens. So Pine Barrens, you and I agreed on that. That's one of the best episodes because it shows the vulnerabilities of the characters in a light that was not shown before.
Yeah.
So with that being said, with your comedy and your lifestyle and your experiences, how does vulnerability play into your comedy? Your own personal vulnerability to
I think
relate
it's
to the crowd?
huge. It's huge. I think it's, what I talk about on stage is my true life. My opening joke about my mom getting lippy when she drinks rye is true. My mom does get lippy when she drinks rye. And that joke alone has healed that side of that relationship with my mother and I. Comedy, and especially truth comedy, is healing. So now when my mom has a couple ryes and she starts to get lippy, she remembers the joke, and it's almost like I Jedi mind tricked her, and she gets, damn it. But I can't tell you how many times I've come off stage and young men or young women have come up to me and went, my mom's the exact same way. And I thought I was alone in that. And hearing you talk about it on stage makes me very happy because it makes me feel not alone. So, yeah, that's my vulnerability. I already am a vulnerable guy. My heart is open all the time. People try to come in and mess with me. They can't. They've done it successfully years ago, but I've learned how to stick and move and get away from people trying to take advantage of me and all that kind of stuff. But I live in a world where I never want to wake up a 70-year-old man. I used to say 40-year-old man, but I'm going to be 30 in 8 weeks, so I've stopped saying 40 because it seems too close. I don't want to wake up a 70-year-old man and say, I wish I tried harder. I wish I loved harder. I wish I was more open. I wish I was more honest. I'll never say that. I will have in my life tried the hardest, has been as open and honest as I could be. I'll never live a life where I feel like I didn't love enough. I know that, and to be honest, it comes honestly by the fact that my dad died young, and his dad died young. I said this in an interview recently, and I pray that it's not true, but my grandfather died at 59. My father died at 49. If I die at 39, I want to know that I gave everything I had for those 39 years. And that's literally what it comes down to, how I live my life. I'm scared. I'm scared that it's not going to be enough. I'm scared that I'm not going to achieve enough. So it turns me into this crazy workaholic. But it's working. It's working. I'm doing all right. I'm succeeding. I'm touring. I'm making money. I'm making relationships. I'm making friendships. I'm seeing the world. I'm seeing the country. I'm seeing so many smiling faces where I go, this is enough. To do it this way is how you do it. And any other way is bullshit. So that's how I live my life, to absolutely give everything that I have, because if it gets taken away from me, I'll know it was enough. That's it.
What steps do you take with physical and mental health? Being on the road or being in the situation we are now, what has got you through all of it?
I think, you know what, I think as an entertainer, and I know you as well as a musician, I talk about this openly on my podcast, I think every entertainer lives with the ups and downs of the road, the ups and downs of life, the ups and downs of travel. All of that stuff comes with ups and downs, with highs and lows. And I've learned how to manage that, and I'm emotionally aware that I know how to navigate that. I know when I'm feeling low, how to bring myself up, and I know when I'm feeling too high, how to maintain. I know how to, and really it comes down to work. It really comes down to, at the end of a tour, I rest for a couple days, and then it's back to work. That's what I do. That's my job. You know, a ditch digger digs ditches. You know, a comedian shows up and does shows. That's it. It's really that simple. If you rest for too long, and maybe this is almost, I've taken this too far where it's almost become a negative thing, but I feel if I rest for too long, if I ease up on the gas a little bit too much, that everyone's going to bypass me and I'm not going to make it and I'm not going to be as big as I want to be or whatever I feel. But reality is my anxieties have made me an extremely hard worker because I always work out of it. I always work into a new place. I always book into a new place. I always tour and promote and make posters and all that stuff that I do. It's made me the career that I have today. So it's like when Kanye West, as much as he struggles with his problems, when he says that my mental health issues are my superpower, that's how I feel. If I get too anxious, I became an extremely hard worker. And then I get 6 months of tour out of it. Sometimes I get like a manic place where I'm like, I'm not doing enough. This is not enough. I'm going to fail. They're going to hate me. It's not going to be good enough. Then I'll just come out of it and I'll be like, I just booked 6 months of a tour because I was depressed. So I was like, oh, okay, well, this is good. These are good things. And that's it. You just work hard. Just show up. Shake hands. Be a good guy. Nobody wants to work with an asshole. Period. You know, and I said this on my show 2 nights ago or last night. I've lost track. And I have another show starting in 12 minutes, so I got to wrap this up. But I never play to the back of the room. I don't care who's listening in the back of the room. And the back of the room doesn't mean people who didn't get good seats. The back of the room is other entertainers. The back of the room is other comedians. I don't do it for them. I do it for the audience. They're the people who pay tickets. And the audience pays my bills. Another comedian has never paid any of my bills. It's never supported me financially. They support you. Hey, great set. Hey, you did good tonight. But it's really a backhanded compliment to see how you feel about it. Yeah. So I don't perform for those people. Those are not my people. My people are the audience. My people are, although you're a musician and entertainer as well, my people were you that night in Winnipeg. As much as I love all the Winnipeg comics, it was great to meet with them. I wasn't performing for them. I was performing for you and your friend and your family and anyone else who was there. That's who I do it for. And again, I'm repeating myself, but now we have this. Yeah. Now we had this tonight. So that's what it's all about. So I think that's a good, I don't know if you have another question. I only have 11 minutes to do my other show. But.
I have what's called the 7, and they're rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And we're going to get right to it. And yes, by the way, Eric does have a Facebook Live show tonight. So go on to Facebook and watch him.
9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I guess 8 o'clock your time. So that's in 11 minutes. All right, let's fight.
So if you were to dance in a musician's video, who would that musician be?
Paul Simon.
Nice. Tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
Tattoos.
I'm the Chevy Chase character. Go ahead.
Tattoos, yes or no?
I have 2. I can't show you. I have my dad, the shirt. I usually wear a button up, so I would have went bam. But I have my dad's signature on my chest of a contract that he signed in 1980 or something to go wrestle in Japan. And I have a bull on my shoulder, which is very on brand for me. My dad's name was Bull Whip. I have a bull on my shoulder.
The biggest misconception people have about you?
That I'm an asshole. Because I'm a big, tan, works out his arms, douchebag. But I don't know, I can't count how many times in my life where people went, oh, I thought you were an asshole. And I went, no, I get it. I can see where you think that, but no.
A comedian you'd love to work with on a tour?
I would love to work with Bill Burr. I truly believe, and you know what, if we're talking, that's living, dead, Don Rickles or Rodney Dangerfield. Those are my heroes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Archery or axe throwing?
My character on Splat-A-Lot's behind me. You can't see it. The mic's blocking it, but he was an archer, so I think archery.
All right. Do you think Hamilton will ever have an NHL hockey team?
Oh, I hope so. That'd be fun. And I tried to work for this. I tried to work for the company. I'd be the in-ring announcer or the in-rink announcer.
And last question, will you be back on RoseNthorn Talk in the future?
Of course, I would love to.
It's awesome. Eric, thank you so much.
Dude,
You
this
can
was
find
great.
Eric Johnston, and you're welcome, on all his social media. You want to shout your social media real quick?
Yes, at Eric Johnston, ERICJOHNSTONWHO. That's my Instagram, my Facebook, my website. It's even my email. If you want to shoot me a long form love letter, it's that's my Gmail, EricJohnston@gmail. Get in contact with me, follow me, and if anyone has any questions about becoming a stand-up comedian or entertainer of any kind, I am an open book of honesty and openness, and I'd love to help anyone out.
Excellent. And this episode will be available on my YouTube channel, episode 3 of RoseNthorn Talk. It is my pleasure talking with you tonight, Eric. I thank you so much.
Dude, I love you. This was great. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Absolutely.
See you, bud.
Bye.